So we just we're giving a brief introduction of the first speaker, sir, which is this case you are going to speak the first in the session. Sir, we'd like to request you to make your remarks, sir, on the subject.
Thank you so much, everyone here, particularly to the organizers, Red Lantern Analytica. Very interesting topic indeed, actually. So I thought I would just try to broaden a little bit the scope of the topic to say that what are the engagements, to begin with, by saying that what is the kind of engagements two nations can have, and particularly, let's say, with China, which we all know it's at the diplomatic and political or economic or military. Now, with China, surprisingly, we do not have much military relationship, so there is no question of really decoupling there. Whereas at the political level, as we know, we have the people, we do talk, but the kind of engagement between democracy and as the Chinese love to call themselves a centralized democracy, as they say, but the whole world looks at them differently. We do not have, again, much engagement. At the diplomatic level, I would definitely say that we have to be coupled with them in the sense that we cannot completely disengage. So it boils down to what everybody has been discussing, including the government of India, that we need to have economic decoupling. And this was accentuated particularly during the period of the COVID-19, when people realized that the supply chains of the entire world, most of the supply chains rather, are based in China. So the point here is that when you are talking about decoupling, I would really look at it from the point of view of these supply chains. So to the question, do we need to decouple? Yes, the entire world has recognized. Most of the countries have recognized, and India has indeed recognized, thankfully. The second question is how to decouple. And since it is at the economic relationship that I discussed about, that we have to decouple, it is basically to reduce the trade imbalances, and it would be to reduce the unfair, or rather, we haven't really linked up the kind of trade surplus that the China enjoys against India, which currently is, I think, about 48 to until last year, 48 to 50 billion US dollars. Now, the point here is, when do we decouple? What is the kind of decoupling that we need to have? What will be the contours of this decoupling? Whether it will be in the manufacturing sector or it will be in the services sector, whatever little we have, the relationship. So, whether it will be at the government level, whether it will be at the business to business level. So these are the questions that would have to be answered. So it's not an easy answer, as you would realize. China has economic heft, despite all the trauma that the entire world has gone through. The China still would probably manage to have a positive growth rate in 2020-21 compared to India. India is, let's say, the most positive thing, being 7.5 minus. So similarly, if we look at the supply chains, the APIs, the electric motor. Now, many of the aspirations of India in Atmanirbhar Bharat, or of the country as a whole in non-conventional energy sources, are actually have to be sourced from China. So the problem is, the decoupling cannot be a kind of turn on and turn off kind of a situation. It has to be, and which I think all of us in this webinar who are serious researchers in the China studies would realize that it has to spread over a period of time, in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. The long-term goal being what it is, that is to have some of those supply chains in India, and therefore the Atmanirbhar Bharat packages that have been announced. But the entire Atmanirbhar package, I've written about this in newspapers, it is premised on the fact that the supply chains that we develop in India do not remain restricted only to India. Okay, it will probably answer some of the questions relating to the sourcing from China, but this trade gap which is there, which is going to be there if you decouple, has to be made good from in other countries. Now, when you do it in other countries, we have to be cost competitive. You in the name of self-reliance, during the time when we used to have this as the motto, we cannot probably go back to a situation where the cost is we are cost incompetitive, and therefore had suggested in one of the articles that we could think about bilateral FTAs with our neighbors, and we together, let's say India, if it is having a competitive advantage in some product, but if Sri Lanka is having in some other, then we should have agreements so that together we become the supply centers of the world. And this is how the decoupling probably in the medium term and in the long term would work out as I see it. The important thing that the decoupling would entail is that these supply chains, which have to be established from end to end, would require to have the cost, as I said, but we cannot have a situation like in China where the wages are controlled at very low level, where there is overproduction in some things which they can dump in countries like Africa. So we have to have take that into account, and therefore I think, to my mind, decoupling is necessary and is probably what every Indian would love to see, and I would love to see too. But it is a difficult proposition. We need to grow at something at 8.8%, I would say, in the next few years. We need to have the economic heft to build our GDP based on investments. Fortunately, the Chinese investments have come down by about $100 million every year since 2018. But we need to get those investments from other parts of the world, and that can only happen if we have bilateral agreements with some of them, and we are able to satisfy their needs, which they are currently getting from China. So the environment, the entire ecosystem in our country has to be developed in such a manner. I'm saying that we are well on that way. Many people are coming over to set our shops, like recently in UP or other states, like in Odisha, for example. We have drawn the maximum amount of foreign direct investment during the COVID period, in particularly the manufacturing, the steel and mine sector. So we have a tall order. The decoupling would require building our not only our competence at the domestic level, but also being cost competitive compared to other parts of the world. The last part is what I call as you know, the quest for excellence. I'm very careful while saying this today, that the quest for excellence in manufacturing, the quest for excellence even in services, somewhere it is there, but the quest for excellence in manufacturing has to be built. It cannot be that we would be in a position of mediocrity and still expect to be the leaders in the world, completely decoupled from China and supply to the rest of the world what China has been supplying. So with these opening remarks, I would like to end my deliberations and would love to hear what the others have to say. Thank you so much.